Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I am your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel. You can also check me out on Spotify. However you're listening to me, I appreciate you listening to me. It's been over a week since I talked to you guys. I've been watching wrestling. I gotta admit, I'm probably gonna watch a lot of my wrestling on YouTube nowadays. Keeping up with SmackDown, Raw, Rampage, Collision, Dynamite. It's all adding up, but then I realized you can watch the clips on YouTube, and I'm getting more and more addicted to it. If it's not a big show, I'm probably just going to start watching stuff on YouTube. There's that. I'm having trouble keeping up with New Japan. I would say not my first love, but my main love in pro wrestling is New Japan Pro Wrestling. And we'll talk a little bit about that. That kind of fed into a lot of the shows in North America this week. I watched Bound for Glory, which, as I'm recording this podcast, Bound for Glory is getting dated because Impact Wrestling is on right now on Thursday night as I'm recording. But I also watched Raw, SmackDown, and AEW. These are the few things that caught my eye as far as Collision and Rampage and Battle of the Belts. Mystico on AEW, 2,000 more tickets sold in the arena they were in. They had, it was like 2,400 tickets sold for the entire taping, Dynamite and Rampage. They announced that Mystico is going to be on this show, and they sold double the amount of tickets immediately. Mystico, Mexican legend. The history of this particular gimmick is so convoluted. There's like 2 or 3 guys that had the gimmick. They tried to bring him into WWE as Sin Cara. He left, and they gave it to one of the guys who had the Mystico gimmick after Mystico originally had the Mystico gimmick. It's hard to follow. I get lost in my sentences explaining, but all I have to say is Mystico is over in Mexico and Texas, very close to Mexico, as everybody knows, and he's over in Texas. If you're over in Mexico, you're over in Texas probably, is what we've learned here with these Rampage tapings. Highest viewed clip on YouTube, by the way, like over 2 million, which is good. This is kind of underpromoted, I feel like, in the world of wrestling. 2 out of 3 falls. Mystico with a beautifully built anticipation before eating the boot of this moonsault attempt. Sliced bread hit, 1-2, Mystico kicks out, great moment. Spanish fly, 1-2, Rocky kicks out. La Mystica, Rocky taps out. Great match. Moving on to Collision, another great match. Danielson versus Andrade. The moonsault into a rollaway, into a standing moonsault. The first time I saw this was El Generico and Kota Ibushi and Shikara. Every time I see it, it's awesome. So yeah, you stand on the top rope, you do a moonsault. As your opponent rolls away, you see it, you land on your feet, only to hit a standing moonsault on your opponent. But this time, Danielson got his knees up during the standing moonsault. Great. Locks in the label lock. Andrade gets out of that, locks in the figure 8. Danielson gets the ropes. Danielson gets the victory. But then after the match, the lights go out. He gets his head kicked in by Malachi Black before the lights go out again, and he disappears. Great match. So Andrade into Danielson and Malachi Black. I mean, I'm stoked. I want this. This is great. Sky Blue versus Hollywood Bailey, Netflix star versus Sky Blue here. Sky Blue gets the win. Cool to see Hollywood. I've been watching the wrestlers on Netflix. Eddie Kingston and Jeff Jarrett here. This match was wild. Jeff gets the win after the crew and everything pretty much jump Eddie Kingston. But this was a great brawl in Memphis. You gotta love it. Battle of the Belts, Joe versus Tony Nese. Joe makes short work of Tony Nese, and then cuts a promo on MJF. Cassidy versus Silver. Silver getting a lot of matches here lately. Orange Punch 1, 2, 3. Solid match. Statlander versus Willow. Statlander wins with a 450. The Acclaim versus, I don't know what to call these guys, the Jericho Appreciation Society. That's all I know to call them. Garcia does the dance. The Acclaim retain their titles. Moving on to Dynamite, which I'm going to get more extensive into this show than I did the other two shows. I had to kind of play catch up here as I fell behind in my wrestling watching before the podcast. My overall thoughts on Dynamite: the show starts out with MJF. He's the champ. He gets interrupted by Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. More on that a little later in the match rankings. Wardlow, video package, calling out MJF. Kind of the theme of the night here is everyone wants a shot at MJF. Wardlow, Samoa Joe, Kenny Omega, Jay White, the Gun Club. And I got excited about every single one of these matches, which is good. I don't think you can line up like 5 or 6 opponents for Roman Reigns right now that I would get really excited for. I think after 2 or 3, I would kind of feel like you were kind of grasping at straws. But with all these matches and reasonings behind them, I'm getting pretty excited about this. Tony Storm's newest picture. Good to see Luther. Always good to see Tony Storm. Sting and Darby come out. This is definitely noteworthy here. Sting and Darby come out. Sting says that Darby is the best partner he's ever had. People kind of gasp, and he's like, yeah, I saw people's shocked faces when I mentioned this, but it's true. Darby is the man. And then Ric Flair comes out. They get each other so hyped. Ric Flair is chopping Sting. They're excited to be around each other. Christian's music hits, and I just start laughing. He lays into Ric Flair worse than the people did on Killed Tony. I don't know if you saw that on YouTube, but that was pretty awkward. This almost hit notes of that, but in the wrestling ring, Chris Jericho sit-down promo is still injured from Hobbs. I think this is the culmination of a project they've been working on a lot with Hobbs, getting him over since like 2020. So it's cool to see here. Swerve being creepy as fuck, sneaking into Hangman Page's house. I like this for the story. It's an edge to Swerve's character that keeps him a heel because he's so cool that you kind of want to flip him. You kind of want to cheer for him if you're in a crowd. So these crowds want to flip him. You know, they got Prince Nana doing the dance. He comes out to the cool song. Whose house? You say Swerve's house. But it's like stuff like this, like a legitimate home invader that makes you know you have to boo him now. You cannot have him lurking over another man's baby like that. That's just fucking creepy. It's weird. So they got to have little elements like this to Swerve's character, or else he's so cool that it doesn't matter if he's a heel or babyface, he's getting cheered. But home invaders get booed. I'm just going to say that right now. Edge promo. He doesn't want to fight Christian. Sting and Darby show up and tell him pretty much to quit being a bitch, and they want him to be their tag partner because there's a 6-man tag coming up with, it's like Christian, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus, Sting, Darby, and it looks like it's going to be Edge. And then Joe finds MJF and asks him if, pretty much says, you need to be a friend. You need a friend here. And just says, cool, let's be friends. And Joe says on one condition, pulls him close, says he wants a rematch for that world championship. And then we're going to be ranking every single match from Dynamite from worst to first. All 5 matches. The worst match, Ruby Soho versus Hikaru Shida. Crickets in Philadelphia during this one. There seemed to be a spot where they kind of mistimed what was going on. It threw me off, and I think it threw them off for the rest of the match. Shida hit a katana 1, 2, 3, and then Tony Storm comes out. It was crazy to see Tony Storm, an actually over female wrestler, entered the arena at the end of this match. It was like, okay, cool, yeah, why isn't the belt on hers? What popped into my head. Number 4, Dark Order versus Hook and RVD. RVD coming out to Walk by Pantera in Philadelphia. You can't write it better than that. He was playing the hits, so to speak, during the match as well. 5 stars, Frog Splash, Hook chokes out Silver, and they get the victory. The Hardys and Brother Zay versus the Hung Bucks. I'm still not used to matches like this happening on TV. Hardys and the Bucks used to be the biggest match you could book outside the WWE. And to think that Brother Zay was the one that stealed the show here, diving all over the place. He did get hit with the buckshot lariat, the super kick, and the BT trigger to lose the match, and the Hung Bucks get the victory, though. Number 2, MJF versus Juice Robinson. Philly loves them some MJF. Juice is getting tossed around the outside. Then MJF even dives on to the Gun Club at one point, ends up putting the diamond ring on, clocks Juice Robinson, 1, 2, 3. He gets the victory, but then the fun began. The Gun Club jump MJF. The Kingdom tried to jump the Bullet Club to no avail. The Acclaim come out and actually make this save. Then you got Jay White and MJF cutting a promo battle. Gun Club and MJF for the ROH Tag Team titles of Full Gear come out of this somehow. There's an 8-man tag. Roderick Strong wants to be the partner. MJF calls him a bland bitch. This popped my girlfriend, popped me. I loved it. As MJF is leaving, he doesn't want to partner with the Acclaimed. He doesn't want to partner with the Kingdom and Roderick Strong. We don't know who he's partnering with. Omega's music hits. And now we have MJF versus Omega at Collision. They're overbooking the shit out of this title reign, but that's what you got to see here. I feel like the MJF title reign was so good at the beginning half of the year, and then a storyline came to be that was so good between Adam Cole and MJF, but to the detriment of the title reign. So now there's a backlog of all these great stories you can tell with the AEW Championship, and I love it. It's cool. It makes it sought after. You have Wardlow going after it. You have Samoa Joe going after it. Omega, Jay White. The Gun Club are trying to soften MJF up for Jay White. Same with Juice Robinson. The Acclaimed want to be Max's friend for their own reasons. Then you also have the Kingdom wanting to be Max's friends for their own reasons. It seems like the whole world is revolving around the world title, and I fucking love it. I fucking love it. But this Saturday, MJF versus Omega, that match is going to be one for the books. I can't wait for that one. And we're going into the best match out of all the matches on AEW Dynamite. Orange Cassidy and Okada versus Danielson and Claudio. Okada on TV. I can't believe it. Claudio and Danielson just start whooping Cassidy's ass. Danielson versus Okada. Claudio versus Okada. So cool. Cassidy fires back. It's hit with the swing. Uppercut from hell. Cassidy loses 1, 2, 3. Claudio and Danielson get the win. Danielson's eyes messed up. Okada just practically making fun of him to his face. Blackpool Combat Club members show up. Best friend members show up. There's a lot of tension in the ring here as we leave Dynamite. AEW, I think they get a lot of shit nowadays for having like a lack of fans in the arena and the ratings going down. But if you watch this Dynamite and you watch Omega versus MJF this Saturday, I don't give a fuck if I'm the only one in the building. I'm having a good time, and I'm going to say that this is a great fucking wrestling program because I think it is. WWE, they're also firing on all cylinders, I would say. LA Knight and Paul Heyman, great TV here, perfect characters for each other. I almost said MJF, but LA Knight, dude is a star. He had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hands. Tension building between Aldis and Pierce. You gotta love this shit here going into Survivor Series. You had the SmackDown GM, you had the Raw GM, you had the SmackDown GM kicking Jey Uso and the Raw GM out of the building going into Survivor Series. 2002 days since Cena has won a televised singles match. He's talking about retiring, challenges anybody, ends up fighting Solo Sikoa and beating him. Jimmy cheats. Jay sneaks in back into the building to attack his brother. When they split these two guys up at SummerSlam, no one liked it. Don't say you did because you didn't. But now look at them. They're getting huge pops. They're fighting each other. It's great. So you got to let them cook a little bit here. You got to let them cook a little bit here. AA to Solo. That's all she wrote. Logan Paul was at SmackDown. Ray comes out after getting called out after Logan Paul won the boxing match for the U.S. Championship. It's going to be at Crown Jewel. This is probably going to be a good match. Speaking of good match, Cameron Grimes, Dragon Lee versus Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. A-Town down. Theory and Waller get the victory. Solid television match. Damage Control, jumping Charlotte Flair. Then all of a sudden, the returning Bianca Belair come out, starts whooping ass. She's become a huge star. I mean, the last few years, it's been all about Bianca Belair, and you love to see it here. KOD to Bayley. Going over to Raw, Judgment Day and Cody Rhodes. Mommy and Dom come out. Jay attacks Dom. Cody swings on both of them, but ends up getting his ass kicked, clears off a table. McDonough shows up, and he's just as much of a nuisance to stop the table bump from happening. It's a numbers game on the American Nightmare, and they fuck up his leg. Rollins talking to Rhea trying to get him to join Judgment Day. He's not having it. The champ ain't joining Judgment Day. He says, fuck that. And then you have Vinci versus Gargano. Johnny Gargano, I mean, I loved him in the Indies. I loved him in NXT, but it seems like he hasn't found his footing yet, and it's been like over a year for him to find it. Whereas Imperium went from NXT UK to NXT to the main roster smooth, like a hot knife through butter. Tommaso Ciampa chases off Kaiser, and Johnny gets the win here, but I want to see more. I mean, I want to see more from Johnny, to be honest with you. Logan Paul showing up on Raw as well, getting buddy with Dominic, and still fucking with Ricochet's wife like an asshole. Ricochet comes out and spears him, unfinished business. I wonder if this is where Dylan Dennis got his little gimmick from, because Logan Paul was hitting on another man's wife at SummerSlam. Dylan Dennis constantly being shown wearing wrestling shirts, so you know he's a wrestling fan, and he might have stolen Logan Paul's gimmick, but like a real life situation type of thing here. Who knows? That's just it's just something I noticed, I guess. I also noticed Nikki Cross not selling anything, looking like me watching a level up match, not even watching the match herself. Chelsea Green, new hairstyle, looking wonderful as always. I mean, Chelsea Green, you gotta give it up to her. She is a babe. Drew versus Sami Zayn gets interrupted by Mommy, gets interrupted by Rhea Ripley, distracts Drew for a 2 count. Rhea on the apron, distracting Zayn. Claymore kick, 1, 2, 3. I like this. This served. This was a swerve distraction victory. Last year around this time, every Raw match ended in a distraction victory that was just like a guy comes out, gets distracted, gets pinned. Where this was a misdirection distraction victory. She comes out, you think it was going to be distracting Drew, but it was actually to get Drew the victory here. And Drew is playing this tweener role right now, so the heel kind of helped Drew win. This was interesting. This was interesting for me. Jay versus Damian Priest. Finn comes out. Jay fights him off, but it's all Priest needs to hit the choke slam. 1, 2, 3. Cody comes out, attacks Priest, gets a little revenge. Raw's good. SmackDown's good. I mean, I feel like usually the holidays is a down period for wrestling, but I mean, call me crazy. I love all the shit I'm seeing here on the both major brands in North America. Going into NXT, Lexis King, former Brian Pillman Jr., debuts in NXT for his Halloween Havoc first match. You get what I'm saying here. I'm stumbling over my words. Looked like a star. The finisher was like Randy Orton draping DDT into a crossroads. It ain't bad. Very safe. Becky Lynch, though, in the main event, Leia Valkyrie. Don't know much about her. She spent a little time in WXW in Germany before coming to NXT. She landed a crazy fisherman suplex. At one point, Booker T popped. 1, 2, Becky kicks out. The crowd was hype. but there was still some obvious crowd noise piped in. You gotta love watching NXT. Becky getting frustrated. Laya Valkyrie. Sorry guys, I don't watch NXT too much. Hits a manhandle slam. 1, 2, 3. Beats the man. So to be the man, you got to beat the man. And she just beat the fucking man. Main event Halloween Havoc 2023. I'm gonna say her name right, and I know who she is. Laya Valkyrie. Boom. I don't even know if I said it right then, but she's a star. Don't just take, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about here when it comes to NXT. We talked about AEW. We talked about WWE. We even snuck in a little celebrity boxing in there. But let's jump over to the WrestleMania of Impact. Or should I say TNA? We're going to get to that. But before we get to the body of the show and I rank every single match from worst to first, we're going to talk about Punk being at Bound for Glory. Apparently he was backstage. There's rumors that he's going to go to WWE. There's rumors that WWE doesn't want him, but they keep hinting at CM Punk in promos and everything like that. But let's just say he joined Impact. Who would I want to see him face? I think he would have a great match with Bully Ray. I think Bully Ray kind of overbooks himself. It seems like kind of books himself in everything. But I think that he's one guy that can maybe hold his own in a promo battle against CM Punk. I would like to see him fight Josh Alexander. Would be a good one for me. I think PCO would be a good match for CM Punk, bumping all over the place, getting him even more over. But that's just fantasy booking here. Impact will always be on a certain level, never the top 2, but will never leave the top 5, in my opinion. Never be the top. They might be number 2 at one point, depending on if something happens. And what keeps them in this position is, I think, the video packages and, having TV rights all over the world and their history. They're going back to their history. They're going to be called TNA again at their next pay-per-view at Hard to Kill. Ranking, I think this is crazy. So they were TNA. They went to Impact Wrestling, and now they're going back to being called TNA. That maybe just for one show, who knows? But let's rank every single match from worst to first. All 7 matches. Number 1, Monsters Ball. This match was the worst match on a good show. PCO definitely stands out, getting slammed on a bunch of center blocks covered in thumbtacks. Jesus Christ. One thing that gets me about Impact, though, like I said, it's constantly Bully Ray just booking himself in anything. Superman rolls, comes out and throws Macklin off the top through a barbed wire board. My favorite match of the year on Impact was PCO versus Macklin, and I feel like these guys had very small roles on this show. PCO did get the pin, though, pinning Moose in the Monsters Ball match. You gotta love the Monsters Ball match. The gimmick is that they were hidden away for like a week, like in some sort of dungeon scenario, and then they get let out to wrestle each other. Silliness, honestly. But number 6 out of 7, the first match on the show, Chris Sabin versus Kenta, opening match, X Division title on the line. This usually was to showcase like younger guys, but here you have these 20-year-old veterans in there. Maybe like the X Division Championship doesn't mean as much to like younger fans or anything like that. They have to put it on guys that I think are cool because of from my childhood or something like that. Because Chris Sabin and Kenta, I don't know. They both kind of changed their styles from when they were like up and comers, warranted this X Division championship. Of course, because of injuries, I get it, but it was kind of interesting to see these guys in it. Chris Sabin, the champ retains. Number 5, Call Your Shot Gauntlet. This was just like a Royal Rumble, so the worst Royal Rumble is still a great thing to watch. Jake something is a guy I thought would be a bigger deal. Hoovy was in this, making an appearance. Women and men mixing it up. Don't tell Rick Steiner, but Giselle Shaw was in this one, along with Sonny Kiss making an appearance. Good to see him. Bully Ray showing up in the second match of the evening. You see what I'm saying? Indie God Matt Cardona showing up. And then you had the last 4 wrestlers, Caden King, Jordan Grace, Bully Ray, see what I'm saying? Matt Cardona. And then Jordan Grace pins Bully Ray with the Juggernaut Driver. And now she has the right to book herself in any world title match or any title match she wants in Impact Wrestling. Number 4, ABC, the American Bullet Club versus the Rascals. To me, this is kind of a match that embodied like an X Division style here, but it was for the tag championship. American Bullet Club versus the staple of Impact, the Rascals. As I said before, Rascals doing the spray paint gimmick like the Outcasts do, and they spray paint the wrong guy. New champs, American Bullet Club. Number 3, the main event, Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley. Josh Alexander injured, had to relinquish the title, a historically long title reign. Alex Shelley, 25-year vet, finally gets his hands on the world title after, like I said, like pretty much being in Impact since the beginning. The story was great. The match was good. The crowd was kind of dead. They've been seeing a lot of action here, and I kind of think that played into the ranking of where I put this match. Shelley hits a shell shock and pins Alexander 1, 2, 3. I kind of think that was the wrong decision. Alexander was the man for Impact, put Impact on his shoulders, and thus kept it on the map for 2022, where you have Shelley, jobbing out to Tanahashi in Japan. I just think that, they could have booked this a little differently here, but, who knows? It was still a great match. Number 2, Mickie James versus Trinity Fatu. Look at Trinity compared to Sasha Banks here. I know Sasha's injured, but I would have to say that Sasha was the way bigger star when they left WWE, and now it seems like they're on like a level playing field, and I think it's because Trinity Fatu made the smart decision with signing with Impact Wrestling when they needed a women's star, and here is Trinity Fatu becoming that big star in Impact, giving the legend the L, beating Mickie James. This is great. And then going into the best match of the evening, Will Ospreay versus Mike Bailey. I would say Ospreay, the Wrestler of the Year in 2023. Mike Bailey, arguably the Wrestler of the Year in 2022. Going at it here. Holy shit chants off the top. A lot of crowds trying to get themselves over nowadays, and this is one instance of it here. First few moments built well, goes to the outside. Ospreay hits an Oscutter on the apron. 450 double knees from Bailey. Didn't get all of it. 1-2. Ospreay kicks out. Styles clash from Ospreay. 1-2. Bailey kicks out. Storm Driver 93. 1-2. Bailey won't quit. Hidden Blade. Stormbreaker. 1-2-3. Ospreay gets the victory. Bound for Glory was good. If you're looking for more wrestling to watch, rewatch some Bound for Glory. I'm going to try to catch up on some New Japan before I talk to you guys next. As always, fly high. I'm out.